My name's Blake. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Blake.
A little bit of exaggeration there. I think I've been a home group member here for about a year. But thanks, Brad. I'll take the credit.
I've been on the line before.
As a matter of fact, Brad's the only home group member that's crossed off my resentment list now, because somebody finally asked me to speak here. If you don't know what a resentment list is, I guess talk to your sponsor, and if they don't know what it is, well, I guess keep coming back. I've got a sobriety date. My sobriety date is July 17th, 2017. This is my home group. I am involved in service opportunities here at this home group. And it's a pleasure to be able to be up here telling my story this evening. Brad asked me to do this probably back in December, and my self-centered mind, I was excited it was a couple months out, because I was sure I was going to be like the first speaker to speak at Primary Purpose when it was open back upstairs, and we were going to have 200 people there, and it was just going to be a good time. Tonight we've just been able to settle for, we got about 50 people packed in this small room in here for anybody that can't see. No, I'm just kidding. There's only 10, trust me. So no, it's a good opportunity to be up here. I always like to share that when I first got sober, I attended a speaker meeting. A gentleman by the name of Billy Duncan, the Juice Man they called him, and he stood up behind a podium. He had been sober a long time, and he said when he first got sober that they wouldn't allow him to get behind a podium without a cut and tie on. Is what the terms he used. And I try to respect that today for Alcoholics Anonymous. I try to be able to carry that tradition. I didn't walk in the doors looking like this, and it's just it's a pleasure being able to carry that on. You know, my sponsor tries to uphold that tradition as well. He didn't get too specific, so I decided to wear a flamingo tie tonight. I enjoy being able to dress up from time to time. I noticed here a minute ago I got a red stain on my jacket right here. I hope nobody in Zoomland can see it. It looks like it might be lipstick, and it's going to have to be from Grandma. I'll tell you right now, the girls I was messing with, let's just say they're the type that didn't wear lipstick. But it's yet to come out. I've been working on it for most of the day. But no, my job is essentially to be able to tell you what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today. I don't know that we've got enough time to do that, but I'm going to do the best that I can to be able to carry a message of hope to somebody like myself who was suffering walking into these rooms. I'm a guy that when I introduce myself as an alcoholic, I'm a guy that just cannot guarantee when I'm going to stop drinking when I start. That's essentially what it means for me. I can't tell you if it's going to be 2 or if it's going to be 20. I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. I can't control it. Once that phenomenon of cravings kicked in, your guess is as good as mine. That's what defines alcoholism for me. And my story consists of me putting whatever substance into my body that gets me outside of feeling Blake. As long as there's some type of effect produced by it, I enjoy doing it. I love the effect and the way that alcohol and other things make me feel. I grew up in South Carolina, an area outside of Charleston, and I'd like to say I had a normal childhood. I heard a speaker tape one time, and the fellow said the only thing normal in his home was the function on the washing machine. So I don't know what that means, but I like to say it anyways. I grew up with an older sister, married parents, and very just a traditional type home, early 90s. Those are my earliest memories, and granted, we got some old goats in here that have been sober a lot longer I've been alive. But those are the days that I'll cherish forever. Those are the days I remember, just enjoying spending time with family and playing sports, playing ball, and the household I grew up in. My father was a hard worker. He worked just building homes, and We didn't have everything we wanted, but definitely he provided everything we needed, and he would work extra during the holidays to buy the bicycle I wanted or whatever that looked like, and I always respected that, and I got those values from him at a young age, and I can recall being in elementary school, second, third grade, and just looking back on it now, frequenting the nurse's station. I was always sick, and really I just wanted an excuse. I knew that my mother worked too far away to come get me from school, and if I was ever to get sent home from school, I would always go hang out with my dad, and so I kind of knew my out there. If I went to the nurse's station, he was going to be there to get me within about 20 or 30 minutes. And I'm just a guy that was not big on education, and I didn't like school growing up, and so I tried to take advantage of every opportunity that I could to be able to hang out with him. And looking back on it now, it was dishonest behavior is what it was at the time, and there was always somebody there to bail me out of it. And going through those 7, 8-year-old whatever, still hadn't had a drink at that point in time, and my parents got divorced for whatever reason. Mom moved over here, Dad moved over here, and I spent about half and half time with them, and I'm going through my adolescent years, and I've got an older sister that's 4 years older than me, and here I am, and believe it or not, I'd been sober for about 10 years at one point in my life, and then I turned 11 and had my first drink of whiskey, that when I was 11 years old, a lot of important things that I like to look back on that I don't think define my alcoholism or why I am the way I am today. I try not to look into too much of that, and if I've been an alcoholic since day one that I was born, I really don't pay attention to that. I just know that today I'm powerless, just as much as I was the day that I came in, and is what do I do on a daily basis to maintain that power in my life. But when I was 11, my father, who was my best friend and my coach and my mentor, he passed away tragically. At that same time, my parents had been separated for a few years at that point, and my mother had been involved in a relationship with another gentleman that exposed me to a lot of things at a young age that an 11-year-old boy probably shouldn't be exposed to in the household, as far as partying. And at that age, all discipline went out the window. There was nobody telling me nor my sister what time we needed to be in at night, and I just kind of ran with the crowd. My sister was 4 years older, and she had older friends that she hung out with. So here I am, 11, 12 years old, and I'm going to parties. I'm going to keg parties, and I'm taking advantage of every opportunity that I can to be able to drink whatever I can. I remember from the early days, it was 151 and 99 bananas and all this, a lot of fruity stuff and Jello shots, and unlike some people, I didn't start with Boone's Farm. Isn't that what it's called? Boone's Farm and MD 2020, and I started with the high class stuff right away, and I didn't know what I was drinking. These guys that were older than me told me, "Here, take this," and I said, "Okay." It didn't really matter what it was, and once again, when those initial effects that it had on me, I loved every bit of it. I loved the acceptance of the other folks around me and the crowds around me, and just loved being able to once again get outside of feeling myself. I love to be able to just continue to drink with those guys and party with that lifestyle. And mind you, this is 11, 12 years old. I'm very young at this point in time. Looking back, I feel like I had to grow up rather quick. In my teenage years, here I am, and I'm uninterested in everything else that 11 and 12-year-olds are doing at this time. My job essentially was to drink every opportunity I could, which looked like the weekends at that point. I'd be skipping school. Remember the first time I ever tried skipping school, I waited till first period started, and I started walking down the road, and sure enough, about an hour later, I'm walking down the road, and one of my teachers, I guess she had the day off or something, and she happens to ride by and said, "Get in the car," and that just shows you how good I am at staying out of trouble. I'm doing a lot of things that a lot of 11 and 12-year-olds aren't doing at that point in time, and I'm getting introduced to smoking pot and just kind of running a rampant and not really caring about anything, not really caring about the future, not really. And I don't know if that's necessarily what should have been on my mind, but I tell you what shouldn't have been on the mind of an 11 or 12-year-old is when my next opportunity is to drink, and that's all I lived for at that point in time. I was over the summer times, I'd park cars for a family friend out on the beach, and I think about that. It probably needs to be added to my amends list. So I mean. I remember really like I'm maybe 13 years old and I'm parking cars for these people on the beach. I remember 4th of July. I'm 13 years old maybe at this point in time, and I remember parking all these cars for $10 a pop. Next thing you know, I'm walking around. I've got like $1,200 or $1,500 in my pocket. I'm like, this is cool. And so at the end of the day, when I turn that money in, let's just say it wasn't $1,200 or $1,500, and I had a good way of working that out. And those people that I was working with, they were very good family friends of mine, of my father's side of the family. And granted, one of them's not with us anymore. But that's just the mindset that I had at that young age. Going through high school, I somehow managed to stay in school. I somehow managed to get through high school, passing grades. I'm the kind of guy that, once again, was never big on school. I did not spend, and I don't say this arrogantly, I probably never spent a day after school studying for anything. That just wasn't who I was. I'm the kind of guy, if you put a test in front of me, I could probably pass it. And granted, I wasn't in any of these Excel classes or anything like that, but I never gravitated towards education, towards school. It just was not part of who I was. I was part of trying to, not grow spiritually. That's for sure. I was part of the crowd that was dropping out, and I'm still kind of just barely hanging on. So somehow or another, I ended up graduating high school. Graduation day comes around. I remember my whole family got together. By this point in time, my mother tried to reel things back in. That fella that she was dating in those earlier years, he had gone back to prison or something, and she had gathered a bunch of extended family around for graduation day. They rented out. My high school had the North Charleston Coliseum rented out, and there was quite a bit of people there. I remember that morning. It's about 8 o'clock. I had to be there for graduation rehearsal, and I remember getting there about 8. It took us about an hour. 9 o'clock, I'm going out in the boat, and sure enough, I go out in the boat with a case of beer and a buddy, and the boat breaks down, and so here I am out in the ocean trying to find a way. I need to be back to graduation by like 4 or 5 or something like that, and I'm hammered drunk at this point in time. We get towed in. I drive drunk all the way from the boat landing to the Coliseum, which is not a short drive. And you've got all these people that I'm graduating with that probably look similar to how I look tonight, kind of good. And here I am, and I wasn't arrogant, was it? Here I am, and I'm walking through the graduation stage, and I've got flip-flops and board shorts on, and I had my gown in the trunk, and so I had my graduation gown, and I had socks about up to here, and then the graduation gown went to about my knees, and flip-flops on. If you could picture that, it was a mess. It was a mess, and I've got grandmas and aunts and uncles and everybody there, and they're wanting to go out to dinner after graduation, and we get done, and they're congratulating me, and once again, I'm hammered drunk at this point, and really the only thing on my mind at that time is I need another drink. I'm not trying to hang out with any of them, and I kind of made a show out of it. I made a mess out of it. Needless to say, we never did go out to eat. Needless to say, I got what I wanted, and that's just the way I treated my family. I don't think I mentioned, and I don't really know if it matters, but I'm mentioning it anyways. I'm the youngest on both sides of my family, and when I say that, my mother and father are both the youngest of 6 children, and so I'm the youngest grandchild on both sides, and there's, what seems like hundreds of cousins. I don't know how many there really are. South Carolina, don't get it twisted. So I'm the youngest on both sides, and so I probably got away with a lot more than I should have. But so getting out of high school, like education was not anything on my radar. I loved living the lifestyle I was living. I grew up on a beach, and I love literally feet in the sand, out in the water on a daily basis. It didn't matter if it was November or April. I just wanted to live that lifestyle. I wanted to be a beach bum. I remember, I didn't know this was the path I was headed down. I remember, like it was yesterday, I don't know why this has always stuck with me. I remember probably being 8 or 9 years old, and my mom and I are driving down the road and we're at an intersection. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There's just a local little gas station, and behind the gas station is the guy that drinks beer behind the dumpster. I don't remember, they called him like roach or turtle or something derogatory like that. And this guy was known around town. He was just the guy that was known for scrounging up money and going in to buy beer. And I remember sitting at that light one day, and he was at the gas station right there at the intersection. And my mom told me, she said, Blake, would you believe me if I told you that this fella right here was the prom king and the captain of the football team and all these, these big things when she was growing up? Like, he was the man back in the day. And she's like, look at him now. Look at his life now. And to me, that's what alcoholism always meant. It always meant the guy that was living behind the gas station, that didn't have a place to live, that was continuing to beg money for another drink. That's what alcoholism looked like when I was growing up. That's the only thing I could identify it with. And so I didn't necessarily see that as long as I didn't get to that point, life was okay. I didn't see, and ultimately it would get close to that point. I say that to say that I'm living on the beach with a cousin of mine, and we got a little place, and we're literally going out on the beach at 9 and 10 in the morning. We're drinking. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. And we're both I was unemployed. I'm doing what I can to make money on the side, usually things that consist of illegal activities. And that was the life I was going to live, and I was okay with that. But I tell you, at that point in time, 19, 20 years old, it was still fun. I loved every bit of it. I loved the lifestyle I was living. I didn't see anything wrong with it. When I turned 20 years old, I'm getting introduced to other things besides alcohol. I never did any other substance up until that point. And I'm getting introduced to other things. And one of my best friends that I grew up with, him and I were, just another important part of my story, him and I we're down in, we're in South Florida in July of 2010. This is a little over 10 years ago. And we were down there for the wrong reasons, doing the wrong things. And let's just say that I came back and he didn't. He ended up dying when we were down there. And it was, I felt a lot of guilt, shame, and remorse from that particular occasion. But at the same time, even on that ride back, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, well, I got what I came down here for. Just the selfishness involved with that. There was a lot of people back in Charleston that were very disgusted about what happened, and they didn't necessarily have the whole truth of what took place. And I went into a deep, I'd like to say a depression. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but I went into an isolated state of mind. I was living with Mom again. I didn't have a job. I'm drinking every opportunity. I'm out of money. I have no vehicle. I had already sold my vehicle at that point. And it was a very dark place in my life. 21 years old, going in, 21, 22 years old. And I just had no ambition to do anything at that point. once again, I felt a lot of blame and a lot of guilt from what had took place, and I was kind of hiding out. And what hiding out consisted of is me staying at Mom's house. Mom had just got remarried, and Mom and stepdad, they don't drink. Apparently, a lot of their friends thought otherwise because they had a bunch of liquor that was gifted to them at that wedding. And I mean, I'm talking a whole liquor cabinet, and within a very short amount of time, I'd say all a dozen of those bottles or whatever it was, they evaporate when I'm around. And once again, I'm just no job, not doing anything, not wanting to be around anybody. And I had a buddy of mine see what I was going through, and he offered me some sort of solution. Excuse me. He said, "Hey man, I think you need to go to this place that I went to and maybe sober up a little bit." So I went to this treatment facility, and I'm 22 years old at this point in time, and as I'm there, I don't really know why I'm there. Matter of fact, the first day I get there, check this, true story. Everything is, but I get there, and it happens to be on like Founders Day or something. There's got to be 100 people here, and they're doing some big event, and of course I'm the new guy in town, and they're saying you're the most important person here. And I don't know what that means. I don't really care what that means, and I'm looking for an escape plan. I don't want to be there, and they give me these tickets, and I'm at this treatment facility, first day there, they give me tickets, we sit through this speaker tape, or the speaker that was speaking. At the end of that, they pulled out a 50-50 raffle, and I'll be damned, I won like $400 cash that day, and I'm thinking, treatment ain't too bad, this is a pretty good deal, and I had some ideas what I could do with that money, and like put me on a one-way ticket back home. And I stuck around there for a few weeks. I want to say about 40 days total. I stayed around there, and I learned a little bit about alcoholism and what that looked like in people's lives. And they told me that you needed to memorize how it works within your first 30 days, and I can do that. And so I memorized how it works, and I come to realize it don't really matter if you memorize how it works. If you're not practicing anything in your life, chances are you still drink. But I remember being there and leaving there, and here I am, 40 days at this point in time, and I'm physically divorced from alcohol. I'm separated from it, and I'm feeling better, and I'm sleeping better, and things seem to be going good. And I'm promising myself, like, this is probably the best decision I've ever made to come to this place. This is probably the best decision I've ever made to get sober, and I'm ready to get back to life. Mind you, I don't have a sponsor. I'm not working any steps. I'm just kind of lamping out in a place that I'm kind of forced to stay away from these things. And but I'm never going to do that stuff again. I'm never going to drink again. I'm never going to smoke again. Any of that stuff. And I'll leave that place, and within hours of leaving there, I'm right back at it, and I'm asking myself, how did this happen? Like, what's going on? Like, what? And that defines the powerlessness for me. And then I see a repetition. It talks about it in the Doctors of Pain. I was actually just reading it a little while ago that these sprees are reoccurring over and over again unless somebody can experience an entire psychic change. And I had no idea what any of that meant. And so. Anybody in here that's ever, tried to get sober and has had some form of relapse or whatever, knows it doesn't get any better. And that's the way it went for me. And so here I spent the next couple of years, and I'm doing a lot of things that I wasn't doing prior to then. And it was a pretty dark point in my life. And at that point in time, I'm in and out of jail, and I'm practically homeless. You could consider it that. I'm sleeping out of a truck or sleeping in, people's couches, and 24 years old, and it just wasn't a great point in my life. And I remember I was arrested again, and I sat in jail for about 7 weeks, and I needed $200 to get out of jail. That's what I needed for bond. And every person that I ever knew, that I ever contacted, And I had burned bridges with so many people that not one person was willing to put $200 up for me to get out of jail. And I had to sleep on that. I had to, at that time, it's y'all's fault, Why hadn't anybody taken care of me, And I finally went in front of a judge, and the judge, and my mom was there, and she hadn't been talking to me since I had been in jail, and she said, the judge asked my mom if you had any words she wanted to say, and my mom got in front of that judge and said, I don't care what you do with them, but send them as far away from here as possible. And I'm thinking, damn, like, even my own mom don't want nothing to do with me. And I really had to take a look at that, at how much harm I had caused at that point in time. Even though I'm not working steps or anything, I could realize the harm that was created. And ultimately I was sentenced to the South Carolina Department of Mental Health for the alcoholically insane. And trust me, that still follows me to this day. There are papers that still pop up that says this guy ain't right, and so it still haunts me to this day. And so here I am. I'm in jail for about 7 weeks, and the judge sentences me to this. And somehow or another, I'm supposed to go on like a Monday. And because after court, I had to go back to jail for a couple of weeks because I had to wait on a bed. And then I got a bed date on this Monday, and the judge says, okay, you know what? I'll release you to your mother's care for the weekend on that Friday. And I get out of jail, and y'all know what happens. I'm back at it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm back at it. I remember those were the last couple of days that I ever lived in Charleston. I remember that Friday, my mom picks me up from jail, and I manipulate situations. I'm right back at it. I'm in Motel 6. I think it was Best Western, actually. It's a little bit upgrade. I'm in a hotel, and I get kicked out of the hotel because it wasn't my hotel, and I didn't have any money, and I was just I'm essentially begging at that point in time. And I get kicked out of there, and I'm walking down the road at like 4 a.m. And just not knowing where to go, what to do. My life's useless at this point in time. Long story short, I get picked up, and they take me where I need to be. The sheriff's department takes me and does what the judge's orders were in the first place. And once again, it's the last weekend I ever lived in Charleston. Since then, I moved to Charlotte, I went to that facility in Columbia, South Carolina, and then I went from there to Charlotte, and I was living in Charlotte. Charlotte treated me pretty good, and I enjoyed Charlotte, and I'm physically divorced once again, another 3-6 months, no alcohol, no substances in my body, feeling good, doing good. I'm sitting, get a good job, and I'm working with these guys, and I love the camaraderie that I have with these guys at work, and they asked me out one night, and they're, let's go out, I'm like, sure. And we go out, and they're ordering beers, and they're, well, why aren't you drinking? I said, no, I don't drink. They're like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, they asked me out again, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And sure enough, I ended up having, I think, 2 beers that night. And I'm like, this ain't so bad. And it's even what the book talks about, try it more than once. And so it's exactly what I did. And that next occasion, once again, I can't guarantee you how much I'm going to drink. Even though that one particular occasion I had 2 beers, the next time I went out, I shut the bar down. While everybody else that I was working with went home to their families at 9 and 10 p.m., here I am at the bar at 2 a.m., asking myself how this happened again. It didn't take long after that where I'm reaching out for help again. I looked into some different facilities that would accommodate me accordingly. I needed to smoke. I needed a lot of things, but I was a bit picky. Long story short, there's a place in Rockingham, South Carolina that popped up on this list for I think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield, whoever my insurance was. And I'm like, well, let's call them. And said, well, check into detox, call me when you get there. And I checked into detox like a week later, and I called them when I got there. And sure enough, I stayed in detox. I stayed in detox for 8 days, and I left there, and I'd let go at that point in time. I truly believe that I did. Although on the 5th or 6th day, I call somebody and I'm like, I'm good. I'm ready to get back to work and go back home. I'm 5 days without a drink. Life's good. And they're like, nah, why don't you get involved with something else? Try something different. And so that's ultimately what I did. And I went to this treatment facility, and I didn't know how I got there. I've never heard of, I'm not a golfer. Never even heard of Pinehurst. Not a big NASCAR fan, so I don't know anything about the track in Rockingham. But I was willing to do whatever these guys were telling me to do. They picked me up, and I went to a treatment facility down there, and it was guys like Brad and some other guys that came down and shared their experience with us when we were in that facility. And I left there, and this entire time, I'm seeing God work in my life. Prior to this experience, prior to coming to this particular area, when I was in Charlotte, up to that point, I had never had any belief in a power greater than myself. I had never had any power in prayer. I had never experienced anything spiritual in my life. I didn't know really what that consisted of. I've been to meetings before, and I'd be run out, but when y'all start talking about God and spirituality and all these things, I'm literally the guy. When I go into a newcomers meeting and they start talking about turning your will and life over to the care of God, I'm the guy that gets up in the middle of the meeting and goes out to the truck and starts drinking again in the parking lot, and then watching guys come out of the meeting smiling, having a good time, enjoying life, and wondering why I can't get like that. And I was just very prejudiced against the whole spirituality and all of that. And I really got to a point. There's a good friend of mine that was drinking and smoking and doing other things just the same way I was. He had tapped into a solution to his problem. He had been sober for quite some time at this point in time. And he said, Blake, you've been trying this for quite some time. And he said, have you ever sincerely, tried to pray to something greater than yourself and ask to remove the obsession? And I never had, and I didn't think it would work. But at this point, what do I have to lose? And so that's what I did, and I'll never forget the power of that initial prayer and I'd hear it time and time again in these rooms. Just, God, help me. Whatever there is, just please help me. And I didn't know what that was supposed to do or what it meant, but I'll tell you, I had a sense of peace and ease and comfort, and I was able to sleep well that night. And so I tried it again that next morning, and that's something I've never missed. And that's the power that I needed in my life at that point in time. My sponsor breaks it down very well. Lack of power over alcohol. I need some power in my life, and that power comes from a spiritual solution. What am I doing on a daily basis to tap into that power? And that's what I try to do on a daily basis today. I got out of that particular treatment center, and I'm continuing to pray, and I've got no license. I've got no vehicle. I'm washing windows for a guy, and somehow or another, I could complain on how much money I was making. It was very minimal, and but everything was taken care of. It's crazy how that worked. I almost had more. I had more than I needed at that point in my life, and I was. For probably the first year and a half I was sober, washing windows with that guy, I'd have my headphones in at work every day, and I would literally listen, and I'm not saying this to be, this is what y'all need to do, this is just what I did. I would probably listen to 5 or 6 speaker tapes on a daily basis, and I loved it. I loved every bit of other people, hearing other people's experience in Alcoholics Anonymous. I had all those speaker tape apps on my phone, and I'm just going through each day, just listening to other people's experience and being able to identify, and I loved every bit of it, not a worry in the world. My rent was paid, and I had opportunities to do things I wouldn't imagine to be able to do in early sobriety. Since then, I'm working with a sponsor at this point in time, obviously, and I 6-7 months sober or so, I had opportunities. I was also involved in other organizations besides Alcoholics Anonymous. I was involved in some ministries, and I know that it's not necessarily affiliated with this, but I had opportunities to go work in other environments in other countries and to be able to help out in other areas purely out of the sense of service. I didn't get paid to do any of it. It was an opportunity that was presented to me. I took it, and I'll cherish those memories forever. I'm still living in a recovery home when I get back from there, and I'm just continuing to try to grow spiritually on a daily basis. I'm trying to get outside of myself. I'm trying to work with others. I'm sponsoring guys very early, 6, 9 months. I'm working with other guys, and I reach a point in sobriety that I've sponsored all these guys, and I just felt like there was still something missing. And you hear coming into groups and other meetings, you hear about the 3 legacies, and here I am, probably a year and a half, 2 years sober, and I've never been involved in any capacity at any home group level. I've never had any accountability. I would just go to meeting houses, and I'd frequent there 4 or 5 times a week, and not really involved in any 12-step opportunities, 12-step work, and I feel like that's really what changed the trajectory of my sobriety there, is being able to get involved there and being able to join a home group and be of service, take different service positions. If you ask any given member of this home group, I probably got more service positions than I need, but it keeps me busy. Maybe sometimes ego gets in the way, honestly, and somebody asks me to do something, and I'll say, yeah, I'll do it, but I've learned to be able to possibly say no, like, hey, maybe somebody else could use that opportunity, or I've got too much on my plate as is. But it's been a game changer being able to get involved and take a look at different levels of service there. With that being said, I've been a member of this home group, I'd say probably maybe 18 months. I did come in and out of this particular group prior to then, but since really committing to be a home group member here, I haven't. I try not to miss too many home group meetings if I'm in town, or I'm not sick or something. Like I'm going to be here. Try to get here early and take the chairperson's job, and probably put my nose in more than I should bargain for, and I try to set up and try to break down and just try to stay accountable within this group. There's different levels of opportunities to be of service, even in the midst of the current climate that we live in. And I'm able to find those opportunities. I'm able to seek out those areas to be able to still help others and still try to carry a message of hope. Try to tap into a solution and share that solution with somebody else. I was told, in early sobriety, that one of the most selfish things you can do in sobriety and Alcoholics Anonymous is to walk away with what's given you such a good life, and that's one thing I don't want to do. I've had opportunities to make amends with family members. When I was about a year sober, I flew out west and went and met with my sister, who we did not get along that great in our adult lives, and I was able to spend a week with her out there, and really, since I think the 4th or 5th day I was out there, I took her out to dinner and just made a formal amends with her and told her that I hadn't been the best brother and I'd taken some money from her and I'd like to repay her, and she broke down in tears and said, "You don't have to pay me anything, just continue to do what you're doing." And then we left dinner and went and got ice cream, and she was like, "So how much money did you take from me?" And I thought I got off good there. And as time goes on, there may be some damage with that relationship still, and those are things that time will hopefully fix, and different actions on my part. There was a time where her and I didn't speak again for a month or two, just recently actually. And so what that takes for me is just being accountable to the sponsor, taking the actions necessary as far as talking with him and being vulnerable, and trying to take that guidance. And the crazy part is I've sponsored enough guys, and I don't want to make it sound like I know it all, but like I've sponsored enough guys to know what the answer is that my sponsor is going to give me. But when he gives me those answers, it sits in a little deeper. I've known for the last month that I should probably reach out to my sister and try to make things right, but it's nothing I ever wanted to do. and so it's just with good sponsorship, being able to sit down and open up and be transparent with those things, and and hash out those resentments. I'm able to take those suggestions. And my sponsor's never once told me I needed to do anything. He's always shared what he would probably do in his life or what he has done. And I'm able to take that for face value and continue to rebuild these relationships over time. I've been blessed to be able to have all these things that I thought I wanted in life. All these whatever, the job, the house, whatever, all that stuff that doesn't really mean anything. At the end of the day, it's peace. And there are some days where I may not have that. I'm a human being. I was never told this was going to be easy coming into it. I've been able to tap into a spiritual solution that was promised that would solve all my problems. But there are days when I don't feel like God's close enough. There are days that I don't know if things will get better, and there are days that I do feel foggy. There are days that I do feel in a funk. Not one of those days have I ever resorted to getting drunk. It's up to me what I'm going to do with that. It's up to me on whether or not I'm going to continue to put the action in to be able to help others and open up and try to stay current. It's up to me on whether or not I'm going to really trust the power that's been provided in my life. That not only can it restore me from alcoholism, but it'll make my path straight, and everything that I do. And I've got to remember that. I've got to remember that not every day is going to be, bright and cheery. Not every day is going to be easy peasy. But what do I do with it? Do I give up on what I've been doing that's got me this far? Or do I continue to seek? Do I continue to put action in? Do I continue to reach out and help others? And so it's that's just that's a big part of growth, of being able to go through those seasons in life and being able to see those miracles come true and see those different seasons pass. If I'm ever in an area like that in life and I don't believe things are going the way that I think they should, typically I'm suggested to pray for some guidance and say that prayer at the end of the book, or what can I do for the next man? And if I'm not in the book and I'm not current with another sponsee or another guy and I'm not carrying an effective message, my experience has shown me that if I pray for it, it shows up. And so I've got to, that's a continual prayer that I need to pray. That if I'm willing to help the next man, that's ultimately what gets me outside of feeling myself. That's ultimately what this program's about. So I just love being able to serve at this capacity. Thank you, Brad, for asking me. Thanks for everybody that's here, and thanks.